Welcome to BBB Technical again. In this particular video, we'll discuss about how to take user input in C programming. So, after taking that user input, how to store that particular input into a memory, right? So, let's proceed. So, we'll take one example. That means we'll ask a user about his age. Okay. So I'm framing the question now. What is your age? So how to frame a question, right? So to frame a question, we have to use printf. That means if I would like to ask the user about particular question, like what is your age, then what I have to do, either I have to print that particular question into my computer screen, or another way is that I have to produce some sound so that he can hear that question and he will give the answer. So in this particular segment, or in this particular C programming segment, we'll simply print our question into our terminal using printf command or printf function. Okay. To take the answer from the user, we'll use one more function called as scanf. That scanf is nothing but it is a function which belongs to stdio pre-existing header file category, right? So it is like a bookshelf. Whenever we want to use some functions, then we can bring out that particular function from that particular header file box, right? So let's try to use scanf, right? So let's go here, scanf. Okay. Now questions come, like how will we store that particular response into a memory locations? Right? It is a very tough question, right? So to store particular values or store particular response from user in C programming, we have to use something called as variable. The variable is nothing but it is a memory, or it is a part of memory where we store some data, right? And store some data means data may be of various types, right? Data may be a character, data may be a number, data may be a floating point number. That floating point number means if my question what is your age, if that user say my age is 24 and a half, so 24 and a half means 24.50, right? If user say my age is 24, then it is an integer number, right? So if this particular number is having some points, that means 24.50, it is having some points, right? So then these numbers are called as float. And if your user is giving response like 24, then it is an integer type of number, right? So and the rule, syntax, how to declare a variable now, right? That is important, right? So to declare a variable, we have to use this particular syntax. Initially, we have to write the data type, and we have to, and followed by a particular space, and after that we have to write our variable name. Okay. So there are various type of data types. We'll discuss the data types again in next video in very detail. Okay. So let's try to define one data type today, and the data type is nothing but, let's suppose my data type is of integer. Okay, and I will give one name to my variable, right? My variable is nothing but, suppose variable name is age, right? So as you can see, I have followed this particular rule, right? As I have told you in introduction video, that C programming is nothing but it is a rule-based programming language, right? So I have followed this particular rule. As you can see here, data type in this case, this data type is nothing but integer, and variable name is nothing but is. And after that, I have ended particular line using one semicolon, right? Simple. Okay. So after that, I have to store the user input into my variable, right? So how to store that, right? So scanf, in that particular scanf should also know what kind of user input I will get, right? So suppose you have one party, like in your you have one party in your nearby house, suppose. Okay, so you will have some expectations, right? Like they will feed us non-veg or veg, right? Like you will have some expectation, right? In that way, scanf should also like be aware of what kind of value that user will give. Okay, so scanf should be informed about it from very beginning. Okay, so how to inform scanf what kind of data my user will enter, right? So for simplicity, for this particular tutorial, I am considering that the user will enter an integer number, right? So let's tell scanf that my user will enter an integer number. So inside that scanf braces, I will write within that comma, we will write a character called %d. What is this %d? %d is nothing but it is a specifier, type specifier. That %d is nothing but it is a type specifier for integer number. Okay, so if my user will enter a floating point number, then I will inform the scanf about that particular floating point number using %f, right? So if my user will enter his name, then I have to inform that scanf using %c, that my user will enter character, right? So in that way, for this particular segment, that means this particular segment of tutorial, in this tutorial 2, I am considering that my user will enter a integer data type or integer number. So I am informing the scanf that my user will enter integer. Okay, so after informing the scanf that my user will enter integer, I have to inform scanf about where you will store or where he will store that response. He will store that particular response in is. So how I have written this is, as you can see, ampersand is. Ampersand is nothing but it is the address of is. That means, hello scanf, you please take the user input and store in the memory address of is variable. Okay, so how to tell the scanf about that? So %d, that means my user will type integer and you just take that particular integer and store it in address of is. What address? Memory address of is variable, right? So I hope this is very clear. So let's run this particular value. Okay, and after that compile it. So my question is popped up. So what is your age? Suppose I have typed what my age is 24. Okay, my C program have like taken my user input, that means that 24 as an input and stored in a memory location, but I have to see the output, right? So what he have stored, right? To print that particular value from that age using printf. How do we do that? So we have some rule, printf user is again here. Hey, hello printf, you will have to print one integer. So we have to inform the printf, right? So %d, okay. So within that comma, I have written user is %d. After that, we have put one comma and we have to type the variable name is, right? So what I have done here, I am telling printf that I would like to print one integer after this particular sentence. User is %d. That %d, this type specifier will bring up or pop up the value of this particular variable. Okay. So I hope this is clear. So let's run this particular code. Okay. So t is missing here. Let's compile and run it. Question if 24. Okay, the user is 24. Right. So I hope you have get or you have accommodated this particular knowledge into your mind. Okay. So see you around in next video. Thank you.